Let me say this.
Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Fox. We never miss an opportunity to expose how underqualified Chrystia Freeland is for her job, and this press conference is no exception.
Let's take a look.
Deputy Prime Minister, documents obtained by Canadian press show your government was warned that housing construction had not kept up with population growth, largely because of Canada's immigration targets. Why did your government not heed that warning and lower immigration levels?
Thank you for the question, Simon. And let me say this. As a country, Canada is probably the country in the world which is the most welcoming of new Canadians, which is the most welcoming of immigrants.
We're the most welcoming. We're so welcoming that we send them to live under a bridge.
That's horrible. Like, I can't believe that's the state of things in this country. Like, you can be welcoming, but it does newcomers a disservice when you don't have a place for them to live.
I think this just goes back to the classic liberal playbook. If you don't have a response, just gaslight.
And as finance minister, I have to say that is a huge economic strength. It is a real driver of our country's economic growth. And at a time when all of the industrialized countries in the world are facing huge demographic challenges, we are extremely fortunate as a country that we have the social capacity to welcome immigrants.
I'm sorry, I have to stop her right there. We have the social capacity to welcome immigrants? Are you kidding?
We don't. Because
that's not even gaslighting. That's outright lies.
Right. Because, again, housing has not kept up with demand. Our healthcare system has not kept up with demand. Even jobs have not kept up with demand. One of the reasons why the unemployment rate remains unchanged every single month, despite there's, all these new jobs, is because 1 in 2 Canadians coming into this country are unemployed. They're not able to find a job because we're bringing in more people than we have jobs for.
Yeah, and Freeland, I know it takes a long time for you to actually answer questions because you just hope somehow that it'll go away. But the question is that you were warned many, many moons ago that the reason why housing was so expensive is because too many immigrants were coming into the country. And you did nothing. Why is that? And you're saying, well, it's an economic strength. Well, yeah, sure. If you just view these people as people that you can tax and get revenue from, sure. Yeah, from a financial perspective, I guess that achieves your goal. They come in, they start working, and they pay taxes. Congratulations.
You are quite right that if we want to be a country that welcomes new Canadians, and I strongly believe that's the right thing for all of us, we have to build more homes faster. And that's one of the reasons I'm here. Our government is totally committed to getting more homes built for Canadians. You have seen that unrelenting focus for weeks and weeks and weeks, for months and months and months.
For months and months and months and weeks and weeks and weeks. Unrelenting focus. You only started focusing on this, as Fox said, over the summer. Why over the summer? Because you were getting a shit kicking in the polls.
That was almost an F-bomb, by the way.
Yeah, almost. And you were promising this in 2015, and you did nothing. You were criticizing the Harper government because of housing, and you did nothing.
The government that hasn't been around for 8 years.
Yet you're still blaming it on them.
Oh, of course. Everything is Harper's fault. Everything is the Conservatives' fault. Conservatives are going to take away everything. No, they're going to fix this mess that you guys got this country into. That's what they're going to do.
And as the reporter said, you were warned a long time ago, and you did nothing. But, everyone should take heart because we've been working on this for weeks. Yeah, you've been taking pictures and handing out tens and hundreds of millions of dollars to bureaucrats that will do absolutely nothing to get homes built faster.
We started the parliamentary session in the fall by lifting the GST on purpose-built rental on projects exactly like this one. Huge impact. Mike Moffat estimates that's 200 to 300,000 new homes will be built. You saw in the fall economic statement, we added $15 billion to the apartment construction loan financing program, which is financing projects exactly like this. And one of the reasons I'm so glad to be here today is to highlight the work on getting more homes built faster. We have been pushing very, very hard over the past few months, but it's not brand new. This project started in 2018 and was made possible by programs that were in place then. And the final thing that I will highlight when it comes to getting more homes built faster, which we absolutely need, it is the most pressing economic and also social priority, is the Housing Accelerator Fund.
Okay. She just completely sabotaged her entire argument. So she's there today to talk about a housing development. And she's saying, well, this isn't brand new. This started in 2018. That's 5 years ago.
Right. Why did it take this long?
5 years.
I know that legislation often takes time to push through Parliament, but you guys had a majority back then.
But even that, why is it taking 5 years to start work on this housing project? Explain that one, Freeland. Please explain that. And please explain to everybody, because you keep saying, well, the housing accelerator, it's going to allow us to get houses built faster. How? How? Because you've never told anybody how.
Well, you can't explain what you don't understand.
Well, and you can't explain something that doesn't exist.
That is having a transformative impact. That is something that was launched in the 2022 budget. There was a lot of eye rolling, a lot of skepticism. Will this ever happen? Will it make a difference? Well, it is. It's being rolled out. We did a deal with Toronto before the end of the year, and that will mean more than 50,000 additional homes get built, and it's $471 million for the City of Toronto.
Prime Minister, what's Canada's position on the merits of South Africa's case against Israel at the International Court of Justice?
Thanks for the question. We're aware of the filing, and our government is reviewing the case carefully.
Why won't Canada take a position on this, though?
One question, one follow-up. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Wow. Canada's reviewing the file on this very carefully. Are you kidding me?
What does that even mean?
It means I'm not answering this question. Next question. That's what that means.
Oh, so it's the coward's way out.
Yeah.
Got it. I guess she couldn't have that reporter arrested, could she?
Because our friends to the south, the U.S., who, by the way, is a democratic government, equal to the Liberals in many ways, their response was pretty quick. It was WTF. It was, that is ridiculous, South Africa. Take your accusations and shove it. That's what their response was. Now, why don't you have a response one way or the other? Because, like the Liberals, the only convictions that they have are when it comes to controlling Canadians' lives. This just demonstrates how inept they are at foreign policy, because there is none. It's by the seat of their pants.
Again, they're so far down in the polls that they don't want to upset one side or the other because they know they're going to lose votes no matter what they do.
And the problem is by taking this stance, they're upsetting everybody.
Oliver Moore, the Globe and Mail. In your remarks, you talked about all the things your government has done for Toronto, and the city's position in response is, that's great, thank you very much for what you've done in the past, but what we need now is a commitment to $250 million by the 26th of January, or you'll have to raise the taxes by 6 percentage points. Is your government going to make that commitment? And if you don't, do you feel you are going to have to wear that tax increase?
Thanks for the question, Oliver. And I made a point in my remarks not only to talk about what we've done in the past for the City of Toronto, but what we're doing today and tomorrow. And I think it's important to highlight that in the 23-24 fiscal year alone, direct transfers from the federal government to the City of Toronto will be more than $1.5 billion. It is a lot of money, and it is particularly a significant sum when you look at it in historical context. And the historical context is that when we formed government in 2015, 2016, the level of direct federal support for the city was just $200 million. So we are a government that 100% believes in supporting cities. We are a government that 100% recognizes how important Toronto is as a city, as a community, as a great place where we all live, and also, frankly, as an economic engine of Ontario and Canada. And that is why we are we are investing aggressively and energetically in the city, and we're going to continue to do that.
Yeah, sure. Fox, why is Toronto important to the Liberals?
Because it's their stronghold, it's their fortress, because people in cities typically tend to vote Liberal.
Yeah. The Liberals have won or lost elections by the Greater Toronto Area. That's a fact.
Well, there's so many people in the Toronto area.
Yeah, and that means there's so many ridings in the Toronto area, and the urban areas, to Fox's point, typically vote left. So, you know, one way to get Torontonians to vote for you is promising a bunch of money to Toronto. And then she says, Toronto's a great place. It's where we all live. Not everybody lives in Toronto, Freeland.
People like Freeland think Toronto is the entire country.
Right. And it's one of the ways to really piss off Western Canada, especially when you go on to say, Toronto's the economic engine of Ontario and Canada. It's a economic engine.
Yeah, maybe it is now because you guys strangled the economic success of Alberta by cutting off all these pipelines and you know, stopping the oil production.
You know where should be the economic engine of Canada? Yeah, absolutely. Alberta. All of the gas out there, all of the minerals out there, all of the minerals in the Northwest Territories, Northern Ontario, like all of the mines all over Canada. It shouldn't be even one region.
Well, and this whole country is just filled with natural resources that we could be using. You know, we could be mining them. We could be cutting down trees and for, you know, making lumber, making paper, et cetera, selling it to other countries and profiting. But we're not, all in the name of the environment.
Right. Like, I'm sure if the Liberals could, they would close down all of the lumber industry out in Eastern Canada that they have become so adept at doing. Like, if you're ever driving through Eastern Canada, New Brunswick, is one of the prime examples. You can see all the forestry zones. Like, they have it down to literally a science.
Well, and they've been doing it for years and years and years. You know, I have family that works in forestries, and only 5% of forestries are like virgin forest. The rest of it is all purpose planted, and it's been that way for years and years.
Right. So, like, this is just absolutely demonstrating how completely inept Freeland is at A, public speaking, and B, her job. And you know, for the sake of Canada, I hope she becomes the next leader of the Liberal Party, because it would guarantee that they lose party status in the next election.
Adrian Gabriel, CTV National News. Hi, Minister. Following up on South Africa and their filings with the International Court today, your government's been aware of South Africa's position for days now. Why won't you share our government's position with Canadians? For, against, neutral, whatever it might be, why is it taking so long?
We are aware of the filing. We are reviewing it carefully.
That's the same answer you gave, Minister, with all due respect. Can we?
Because that's the truth. That's the position.
Wow.
Did you see her face? That was like, oh shit. Did you see that? I can't believe a CTV reporter asked that.
Yeah. Wow.
Amazing.
That's going into a short, everybody.
Oh, it sure is.
Oh my goodness. Damn right.
You know, it's about time somebody held these people to account.
Yeah, with all due respect, you said that already.
Well, yeah, how about you give us an actual answer?
It's because it's the truth. Uh-huh. Sure it is.
Quote unquote truth.
Question, please. It's one question, one follow-up.
Yeah, I didn't have a follow-up. There wasn't a follow-up yet, so I'll ask it now. Thank you. Today, a recent poll by Abacus Data suggests that the Liberal government is falling further out of favor with Canadians. If there was an election held today, the poll suggests that 41% of Canadians would vote for the Conservative government, 24% for your government. Why do you believe that your government continues to fall further out of favor with Canadians, and what work do you believe needs to be done?
Really, thank you for that question, because I wake up every single morning. I know Marcy wakes up every single morning also, thinking about the challenges Canadians face right now and thinking about how we can work harder and more effectively to meet those challenges. That's what we're doing. From my perspective, the single biggest challenge Canadians are facing right now is housing. And that's why we're here making a housing announcement, highlighting some of the really important work that is happening, pointing to a model approach to building not only affordable housing, but real communities, talking about the first home savings account, highlighting that so that Canadians know that's a really effective way to save for that first home of your own. I recognize that these are really hard times for a lot of Canadians, and our government's response is going to be to get up every day, to focus on the challenge at hand, and to work as hard as we can to answer it.
Wow, did you see her stalling?
Yeah. She's
uncomfortable.
This is the most uncomfortable I've seen her.
Good. It's time these reporters held the Liberals to account. See how they're not on their side anymore, because they see the polls. They see how high the Conservatives are and how low the Liberals are. And we actually spoke with our MP yesterday, and Cypher, what did he say about the real Conservative numbers in the polls?
That they're actually a lot higher, and David Leese had actually talked about that off camera as well, in that the sample size is only like 1,000, 2,000, 2,500 for each of these polls, right? And yeah, you can take that with a grain of salt, but the difference here is that the estimation is that the Conservative vote is underrepresented significantly
In these polls.
Yeah. And one of the reasons that would be is because usually when these pollsters are calling, because it's typically done by phone.
And it's done usually by landline as well.
Yeah, it's during the day. What are Conservatives typically doing in the day? Working. They're not sitting at home, getting angry at the internet, pretending to be environmentalists and answering the phone and answering polls. So, the Conservatives that are answering are probably the ones that are working from home. So it's probably, by estimations by both our MP, now he's going to be biased, so fine, take him out of that. But I believe it was David Leese who had said it, that it's underrepresented. And he's just speaking from a point of view of data. If you've watched that interview, he made a point of saying repeatedly that the Frontier Center for Public Policy is unbiased. They call it as it is.
They're nonpartisan.
They're nonpartisan.
So, whatever data he's seeing, it's not going to favor the left or the right or the center. It's just nonpartisan.
Right. So, and remember, like last year, And during the early part of the summer, all you heard from the Liberals whenever they were asked a polling question is, we don't worry about polls. Guess what they're not saying anymore?
Yeah, because they are terrified of those polls, because even they know that the Conservative vote on those polls is underrepresented and the true number is higher than these pollsters are showing.
And it's been a trend. That's the thing. It's been a trend for more than 6 months now. That's a long time. A long time in politics, right? So this isn't one data point. This is hundreds of data points, and they've all been validated by each other, by the different polling organizations, ones that lean to the left, ones that lean to the right. They're all saying the same thing. And what they're saying is that whenever an election happens, Freeland and Trudeau, you guys are going to be out of a job, and maybe you'll get to stay home all day and answer questions from pollsters.